Hello everyone, we're back again for another chat. Hopefully Anna's going to come back and join us in a moment. Got various people with us. It's the old Instagram. Hi Francie. It's the old Instagram hour cut-off thing, which is always a force to be reckoned with. We're just gonna. Hopefully Anna's going to join us in a moment. Let's see, where are we? Where is she? Are you here yet? Not quite yet. Coming back. How's everyone doing? Everyone all right? Thank you. I don't think they do go longer now, do they? Oh, maybe they do. I don't know. Hopefully Anna's there. We go. There's Anna there. So just going to come back there. Yes, so we'll be touring with Nadine again at some point, hopefully this year. If not this year, next year. I don't know, we don't know what's going on this year, do we? Hello.
Hi.
You're back again. I've just realised that I've got a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. First of all, you went to university in Southampton.
I did.
Which is where I grew up.
Oh, really? How fun.
Yes. So I wanted to ask you about how was that? You can slag it off if you like. I really don't mind. I'm not in love with Southampton at all.
It was some of it was really cool. Like, I mean, the place, like, I guess when you're used to living in London, it was obviously not as, happening.
Yeah. Whereabouts did you live?
God, where all the students live, I can't remember where that
Portswood.
is. Yes, I think so.
Did you go to Talking Heads?
I did go to Talking Heads, yeah.
Did you go to The Hobbit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Joiners?
The Joiners, yeah.
There was a gay nightclub called The Edge that I used to go to every Saturday night. No, never frequented that place.
Well, probably, but it's probably had a different name.
Yeah.
Because I left the years so long ago.
Right. But yeah, I thought that because I studied music there, and I thought that was definitely an interesting experience, and I think I learned a lot, from that.
Did Ray Dinverno teach there?
Who?
A guy called Ray Dinverno.
Don't know.
Yeah. I used to play there years and years and years ago. That's kind of how I where I started before I went to Leeds.
Oh, right.
And used to play in Talking Heads and Hobbit and all that stuff. And it was pretty crap. It's all right.
But Talking Heads was one of the better venues, though.
Yeah, that was all right. Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about was that you mentioned that you've been really influenced by Messiaen.
Yeah.
Which I find fascinating because I've been really into Messiaen as well, and I wondered about that. Like what any particular type of Messiaen piece or?
I mean, I always had this obsession with how music can change our sense of time and how quickly or slowly time goes. And there's a particular piece, I think, called Quartet to the End of Time.
Yeah.
And I really, really feel that piece more than any other piece I ever heard seems to expand the sense of time, of how you experience time. And I find that really incredible. And I also really love the way he uses the timbre of instruments, the sounds of them. It's like not just about the melodies, it's the way that they actually sound. It's almost as if you were blindfolded and you were putting your hands into something that had lots of different textures. Like one was sand and one was slippery, and that's kind of almost what it sounds like to listen to his music. And I love the sensory way that he does the way he orchestrates his pieces, and I was really interested in this idea of hearing things in different places. You know, a lot of music, especially guitar music, is very flat. You know, especially say you take like say 90s guitar music. It's very
Oasis.
flat. Yeah, Oasis. My beginning, my nemesis. It's all one thing. It's like a wall. It's, you know, whereas his music is it feels kaleidoscopic. It's in different places. It's very 3D, and I really love that about his work.
So what you're saying is, you're talking about dynamics essentially,
But
as well as
not
textures.
only, but choices of instruments, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean dynamics too. And what about
Was it just go on? Was it
what
just the
about
quartet
you?
for the end of
Like,
time?
sorry?
I was going to say, was it just the quartet for the end of time that sort of resonated with you, or did you look further afield with this stuff?
There was, I really loved the one, what's it called? Oh, I'm really bad with names, but the one that was about the desert, or which one was that? There was another one with Wazo in it, like birds.
Yeah, the the canyon de
Yes,
Duazo. Yeah,
I
yeah,
loved
that's
that
amazing.
one. That one
There's a,
I listened to a lot.
mm, yeah, he transcribed a lot of birdsong.
Yeah.
There's a famous picture of him just standing in in the canyon, just transcribing birdsong, just standing there with a notebook,
Wow.
just like that, which I just think is incredible. Can you
That's
imagine?
amazing.
I mean, birdsong's pretty kind of random sounding. It's
Yeah.
not like it's. I mean, it would be really, really difficult to notate, even if you had a recording of it that you could go over and over and over and
Yeah,
slow
you would
down.
have to slow it down. Yeah.
Yeah, standing there, just,
That's
just
mental.
absorbing it all. Yeah, incredible. It's quite the mind sort of boggles really with someone at his. Have you ever got into his like scales or anything like that?
Not specifically. What are his scales?
He had these. His languages comes from scales of limited transposition, so a bit like a diminished scale, where it can only be transposed 3 times before it starts repeating itself.
Right.
He loved the limitation of that, and he felt that like a lot of things in creativity, where if you limit your options, you can get more kind of more juice flowing kind of thing. And he really loved the fact that these scales, like the whole tone scale, is one of them, where there's only 3, like a semitone part, and any more than that, they start repeating themselves.
Yeah.
And he really loved that limitation, and I think because he was very extremely religious, so he sort of said that kind of God and heaven exists in these limitations,
Right.
and that he also found that those scales have so you can transpose the whole scale like 3 times, and then after that, but then within the scale itself as well, there are sort of pivot points where the interval pattern just repeats as well. So I think it was the whole tone scale and the diminished scale that he started with, and then he invented a load of scales that do that basically.
Right.
So they're crazy scales.
You
They're
use
amazing.
them a lot when you're
And then he
playing.
used them in all his language, yeah. Like apart from the birdsong stuff, but it was one of his big things was using these scales.
Right.
He wrote a book. He wrote a book, which is basically he was students asked him to explain his explain himself, explain yourself, and so he wrote like 2 books, one which explains all his techniques, and another one which was musical examples.
Right.
I've kind of got to page 1, and then I start losing my mind because it's just
Right.
incredibly ridiculously complicated. It's just, well, you need to be able to read the score for a start. It's like the
Yeah.
score looks like kind of, yeah. So it's really hard to penetrate, but still, just that first page, it's got kind of got me a long
Mm.
way.
Is he
I've
is
got
he is he an influence on your playing
yeah,
or
massive.
work?
Yeah, huge. I had a book of there's a guy in France in Paris called Guy Lacour who wrote a book of saxophone studies using his scales of limited transposition,
Right.
which are deliciously difficult, incredibly hard. Like really, all of them incredibly fast, specifically designed to do the most difficult things you can do, sort of huge
Right.
interval leaps and incredibly fast. So if you want to get good on the saxophone, just take one of those. And even if even if it takes you a year, by the time if you get up to speed, you can play, you know. But if you do that enough, you kind of this, like you're saying about the spirit of a songwriter coming inside you. It's like that language gets under your skin.
Mm.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. It's really amazing. I think it's also this the which is something I hear in your music, which is I hear which is quite rare, which is being able to sort of control dissonance and not being afraid to use harmonic dissonance.
Mm.
I think a lot of time, especially when you're I think that's the other thing that I really love about your music as well is that you're making music that has a vast commercial appeal, obviously, but you're not afraid to take risks and to do something that's like dissonant and to using
Mm.
these things. So a lot of people play it safe.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, for me, like dissonance is the idea of dissonance followed by resolution or maybe not. That's the narrative of being alive, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like, and that's what feels the most exciting for me when I hear music. It's like to not know, like, is it going to work out?
mm,
You know, maybe not. I just find
yeah,
that's a really kind of beautiful thing to play with, I think.
mm,
And actually, that's why I'm so obsessed with the song Aladdin Sane,
mm,
because when the piano is doing this kind of
yeah,
solo, it goes in between these two things. And that when I was a kid and I first heard that just immediately just pricked up my ears, and I just found that so fascinating, that idea.
mm,
And it feels, because when you write music, you almost feel like you're the god of this little world, which is your songs.
yeah,
And when you create dissonance, it feels a bit like God, you know, causing a hurricane or something.
mm.
Like, am I ever going to let the poor little people, be saved from this hurricane? And sometimes you just don't want to. You just want to put a giant thumb and just like, you know. And then other times, the way that it can resolve, it is very thrilling and can be very beautiful.
Mm. Because that's something else I was going to speak to you about was we talked quite a lot about your like the songwriting process and how you start, but like it seems to be that listening to your music, there's a kind of an aesthetic that runs through from your earliest stuff right through to now. And how much are you involved with the production and the mixing?
Probably too much. Like, I
Why
mean,
do you say that?
because the amount of stress it puts on me, like, I
Mm,
mean, I find the process of making records, I would love to find it fun,
mm,
but when the stakes are so high and when you care
mm,
so much, how
mm,
can it be fun? It's like every
mm.
day you're making decisions
Yeah,
that might sort of potentially change your life, but at the very
mm,
least, you have to live with them forever.
yeah,
Um, and so, I mean, like, say, as the albums have gone on, I feel like, obviously I've learned more about
mm,
production and I guess more and more be able to kind of talk, not just, I like being able to talk in both emotional and imaginary ways, but also in more kind of obvious
mm,
technical ways as well, whether
mm,
it's musically technical or not, this needs more delay on it. Not just
mm.
like, I need to feel like I'm in a cave. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's like you
yeah.
could say the
Scary
same
cave with
thing.
bats.
Yeah. um, so yeah, I do get very involved in it, because for
Mm,
me, I always want the sound of the record, or like the sound of a song, to illustrate what's happening in the song.
yes.
It's like, even if no one ever realizes, if like it's a song about crawling in the jungle, I want the music to sound like you're crawling in the jungle. And that's how I kind of make production decisions. It's very visual.
And do you make this word called prosody, where the harmony and the melody choices also serve to support the meaning of the song. Do you make harmonic melodic choices to serve that as well?
Um, yeah, yeah, I think I do. Like
Mm,
less consciously.
mm,
I think for me, like the moment I know a song is gonna be worth working on is if I see it. Like there's a story that I can see, almost like a film that I can
mm,
see. Once I know the story, I feel like there's a path and I know what I need to do. If I just
mm,
write a piece of music, but I don't like the melody's quite nice, but there's no story behind it, I can't see
mm.
it, then it's just not enough for me to hold on to. So
Yeah.
I think that the melody and the words need to come together and express that story, whatever it is.
And do they sort of come at around the same time? Like sort of you start developing the melody and then you get a few words and a bit more melody and a bit more words, or
Yeah, like I'll just sing like the first thing that comes to my head,
mm,
and sometimes that's the thing, yeah, that I stick with. Those are the ones that I trust the most, that just
mm,
come out.
mm.
They feel the most truthful.
And do you have songs that you don't finish? Like if you're kind of getting somewhere and you think, do you know what, and just drop it, or do you always finish the song?
I rarely finish a song.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
It's so easy to start, it's so hard to
Mm,
finish.
yeah,
Because it's about potential, isn't it? When you haven't
mm,
finished it, the potential of it could be anything. And
mm,
when you finish it, it's like it was hovering in the air, and now you're
mm.
like throwing rope and pulling it
To the
down.
box. Yeah.
And that's always the trickiest bit about songwriting, because
Mm,
it almost doesn't feel very creative, that part.
yes.
It feels a bit like you're working in an office and
Yeah.
you've got to
I
get
know what
it
you mean.
done.
Yeah.
And
Or
it's
you're
such a
decorating a room.
different, yeah, it's like such a different headspace.
Mm.
And yeah, it's definitely the part I don't enjoy.
Are we talking about arrangement here? So like you'll have the initial idea, the sound world, you'll conjure the sound world, you'll start putting some words together, and it's all starting to build and build, and then you've got the verse, and here's the chorus, and there's another verse, and blah blah blah, and then you get to a point where it's like, right, well now I've got to repeat, and then you're starting to think about repeating the chorus and doing this and doing that, and that's a completely different process, isn't it, to kind of like exploring this lovely world. Are we talking about arrangement?
I feel like when it comes to the arrangement part, you're kind of almost there. I find it's
Yeah.
more like the problem that I often find is that I'll write a verse that I really like, and then I'm like, well, now what happens?
Mm,
That thing of like, what happens next? That's the thing that I find really hard, because the
mm,
first thing you write is the thing that you're not thinking about. It's the pure
mm.
subconscious you just doing something, and then the
Yeah.
next bit is you trying to then turn that into something.
Mm,
That's what I find really hard.
mm. Or if you've got an amazing verse and an intro and it's all building and it's like, right, now this needs an amazing chorus.
Oh, the chorus is the worst.
So hard that, isn't it? But now I need to find a punchline. Now I need to somehow step it up and create this
Yeah,
thing that's going to crystallize everything.
yeah. And then like you listen to other people's choruses and they seem like I was listening to John Grant the other day,
Mm,
and I really love the way he does choruses. I love how slow his music is.
mm,
It's like it's very, very stately and slow, and when a chorus comes in, it feels so majestic. He
mm,
writes such majestic melodies, and
mm,
I was just thinking, God, like how can I do that? Like
mm,
sometimes how you can listen to someone and be inspired, and then other times you listen and get depressed.
mm. Yeah, sort of
So
intimidating.
yeah,
I
um,
tend to just get overcome that with analysis. If I feel intimidated by it, I'll analyze it and kind of come at it from a conceptual point of view. You know, I've
like,
done it with Bowie quite a lot, where it's like, why does that chorus just feel so incredible? It's just, oh, because he's, this interval with this chord change. So they'll try that, and that sometimes works.
no, right. I
Quite
never
nice.
really, I never really tried it that way, I think.
I quite like doing that sometimes. Like I said, that extremely conceptual thing. Like there's a few things in that Messiaen book where he'll get a melody and then he'll sort of flip it, so reverse it, or he'll do a mirror image of it or something
Right.
like that, which is just purely a conceptual
Right.
exercise. But sometimes it can get things going that you wouldn't otherwise have heard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've
Quite
done
nice.
that before where I write a melody and then I flip it and reverse it. And
Mm,
I always prefer it reversed, but I think it's because then it's not you, you know, and
yeah.
so you're not so critical on something that's,
Mm.
well, for me anyway, that's, it's like I'm always much kinder to other people's writing than I am to my own.
So if you can sort of distance yourself from your writing, you have a kind of more generous view of it.
I think so, yeah.
I was chatting to Adrian Utley as we did one of these things with Adrian. I know you've worked with Adrian
Mm.
a bit. And have you heard about this kind of alphabet technique he uses? He's
No.
used. So you map the alphabet to obviously the notes that exist within the alphabet,
Uh-huh.
and then when you get to H, you go back to A sharp, and then you go through doing sharps, and then when you get to wherever the end of that is, you go through doing flats, and then if you've got any notes left, you just start again.
Right.
So then by the end, you've got a note for every letter of the alphabet,
Right.
and then you just work with a word, and then
Ah,
just
okay.
and apparently Bach did it a lot
Really?
with his own name apparently. Because H is I think B flat and B is B. No, B is B flat and H is B in German. So
Right.
he wrote, yeah. But Adrian did a load of music. He was asked to do some stuff from with Colston Hall in Bristol, which was named after this horrendous slave trader.
Mm.
So he did a load of music using the word exploitation and things like that, and made a load of music from that.
Right.
It's quite a nice way of,
Yeah, that is really interesting.
yeah, it gets you away from that self-judgment thing. Just
Yeah,
you can just
yeah.
kind of sink into a system.
Mm. I
Yeah,
really like that idea, actually.
yeah. Um, I noticed you worked with Nick Launay on Nick Nick Launay.
Yeah.
I did some sessions with him once when I
Oh,
did,
cool.
yeah, I played with Supergrass once years and years ago,
Ah, right.
and I went to Berlin and recorded that with them in Hansa Studios, which was pretty amazing, where Bowie recorded some stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
How did you find working with him?
He's such a lovely guy, and
Yeah.
um, I just I'm always amazed at how great his ear is and
Mm,
how good he can make things sound,
mm,
and it just feels really really instinctive with him, and I also really like the way, this is something I learned from him, is to really pounce on good mistakes and
mm,
allow something to completely change and go in that direction if a happy mistake happens, and not be
mm,
like, no, because we planned it to be this, so it needs to be this. It's like
mm,
constantly kind of reacting to the environment and changing and making the most of those moments. I think
mm.
is really great.
So do you go into the studio with kind of completed demos, like you've got a plan for each song, or do you leave them sort of a little bit unfinished?
I have it very complete, but I always want to have like 15% or 10% like open to change.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it changes even more, then I'm happy. If it
Mm,
changes um, considerably, if it ends up better, then that's what I want. You know.
mm. And do you always
The
have the
only,
same band?
sorry. The yeah, I always work with Mally Harpaz and Alex Thomas. Alex is my drummer. Um, I mean, he's a really really incredible drummer,
Mm.
and Mally is, one of my best friends, and she's multi-talented, can play many things, and it's a really lovely team that I have.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it might be time to go and have some dinner now. So, thank you very much. It's been great to catch up with you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and well, it was that I think you played you sat we sort of played together on stage. I think it was once. Was it once or more than once? Maybe a
Yeah, I
couple.
think it was maybe twice or something.
Do it
No, I
twice,
think
yeah.
we also did like an improvised
Oh,
gig once
yeah,
in
yeah. We did an
church.
improvised thing at the crypt. That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That was fun
Yeah,
with
it
Chris
was fun.
Batchelor on trumpet. Yeah, and we met in that rehearsal studio, didn't we? That had the most ridiculously
In Camden.
dissonant. Yeah, it had a really dissonant, like an amp just making a horrible noise, or something was making an incredible noise, which got worse when the trains went past. I
I
remember that.
remember, yeah, yeah. Good times.
Oh, well, it'd be great to play with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, maybe once all this is over,
Yeah,
we'll try and sort something out.
no,
Are you going
definitely.
straight on tour? Have you had to postpone a load of live work? Or?
Yeah, I had to postpone a US tour,
Oh
which
shit!
yeah, which was sad.
How long
But
was that?
it was I think I was going to be there 3 weeks. I
Right.
was going to do Coachella and yeah, so
So when you're going back on the road, you sort
well,
of
I don't
planning.
know. I guess I'll have to see
Okay.
what happens. Do
Yeah.
you have do you have plans of touring or
Supposed to be on tour now. Had to cancel it.
right?
Had a 3 week tour, and then we postponed it to the autumn. We're still sort of keeping one eye on it, really. Hopefully,
Mm,
yeah. See.
we'll see. It
Yeah.
will rise again, and
Yeah.
you can play guitar. I'll play saxophone. Everything will
Yes.
be.
There you go. It'd be a whole new world. Amazing. Oh
Cool.
well, thanks
Lovely
so
to chat
much.
with
Love
you.
to see you. Yeah. Take
Take
care
care.
now.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.